Welcome to the State of the Nation, and we are honored to have one of the legends of South African politics join us today, the Reverend Frank Chikane. Welcome to the State of the Nation. Very good to have you on the platform.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure why I'm here, but I'm here with you. Yeah. Okay.
You're here because because I think what we want to do is discuss the role that you have got involved with over in recent times, and that is on the Integrity Committee of the ANC. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's fine, as long as if you don't ask me what you don't ask judges to talk about. Yeah, I can talk about integrity and challenges of integrity. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk. And to be fair, I haven't spoken to any judges either. So let's talk about the challenging. And I do understand that it's quite tough. Obviously, the ANC has in many circles on the question of integrity. There seems to be some confusion around the step-aside rule and so on. How are you finding it in that position on your Integrity Committee? Is it effective or isn't it?
Well, I just got appointed in February this year, and I spent time with the nine other commissioners, really 8 because one is not well. And we workshopped what this commission is about, its terms of reference, and what is meant to achieve within the African National Congress. Remember, there aren't many parties that would have an integrity commission. I'm not aware of one. I searched, actually. There would be integrity commissions for a country or in the Caribbean where they've got integrity commissions. Within the ANC, we're dealing with a challenge. The challenge, it's that of what is called sin of occupancy. You know, when you are in government, there are things that go with it. And it's not only the ANC government, it's many other governments in the world. But the question was, how do you deal with the issues of integrity within the party? It has got its own rules. It has got Rule 24 that deals with discipline, and it provides for establishment of a commission. And so the commission, it's between really what courts do and what an organization's code of conduct is about. And we have already indicated they need to actually make sure that there's a code of conduct that governs this. And then it's not a disciplinary committee either. There's a disciplinary committee process of the ANC. What we deal with is issues of integrity and the issues that bring the organization into disrepute. That's really what we are dealing with. So you may not have committed any crime. You may not have done something that requires you to be processed through the disciplinary process, but we can actually reach a conclusion that what you have done brings the organization into disrepute. And I think that's where the challenge is, because the membership don't have the same understanding of what integrity is and what ethics it's about, an ethics framework document, which we have brought it to the NEC once more again, the National Executive Committee, to say this was developed in 2020, but I don't think people really applied their minds to it. There is also another role of the commission which was not being used, which is that of interacting with members, branches, provinces, regions. What the commission was doing in the past is to wait for somebody to do something wrong, and they appear before the commission, and then it passes its own judgment. My view is no, we need to actually go and stop the flood of people who come into the commission, into the organization, who have no understanding what ethical behavior it's about, and then deal with those who are inside already. And I gave them two options. You know, if you feel you've done something that could bring the organization into disrepute, come to the commission, and the commission will look at the matter. If it's something you can fix, fix it and remain a member or leader. But if you can't fix it, there are things that can be fixed. Then the best way is just to off ramp. You know, if there's too much traffic on the freeway, you just off ramp and go wherever you want to go to, rather than stick on the freeway and bring the organization into disrepute. So those are the issues we have discussed. We are revising the terms of reference as well to make the commission as effective as we can have it.
One could understand that we're having this conversation if you had been in power for 5 months, but it's close on 30 years. One would imagine that that groundwork, that framework of ethics would have been established early on after the ANC came into power. How come 30 years down the line?
Remember that I was in government at the beginning. I was part of the liberation movement, the ethics and what was expected of leadership. You know, our Tambo, Mandela, Thabo Mbeki, we've gone through that process, and there was never doubt about integrity of the leadership and the ethical conduct. I think that's why I call it the sin of incumbency. That when people realized you need to be in power to make money, you need to be in power to control resources, then you are entering into an area that's not what the ANC was about. And so you've got new leadership that has gone into local government, etc. But I'm not one of those who think that the problem of the ANC is that of new leadership only. It's old members of the ANC who got themselves corrupted, compromised, and behaved in a way that is completely un-ANC. And that's what we are dealing with now, that we have to recalibrate the standards and say, this is the standard required of a leader. And if you can't live according to that standard, you shouldn't be here.
Well, you mentioned that you were involved, you know, from the liberation struggle and certainly in the first administration. But much we can do, we can't turn the clock back. But at the first sign of malfeasance, the leadership of the ANC immediately chose the other route. And I mean, this goes back to the administration where I think the original sin was Sarafina 2, if I'm not mistaken, right? And this was the first bit of blatantly corrupt behavior. And that minister who was in charge, and Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, in fact, to this day remains in government. How do you square that circle? This was something. No, this is not a new thing.
Let me start from my position. Within 2 years, when we were in government, I picked up that the old was corrupting the new. You know, if you are corrupt, apartheid was a very corrupt system. So if you are corrupt and the new lot arrives, the best way to protect yourself is to corrupt them. And I picked it up. I was in the office of the president, deputy president. I wrote a letter to Mr. Mandela, copied to Mr. Mbeki to say, this is my observation. We need to deal with this matter. Unfortunately, that letter was classified, so I can't make it public, you know. And then we reached another stage where it became clear that there were people within the leadership who were compromised during the struggle, who were handled by the intelligence services of the old order. But now they are part of the new government, Now you've matched the old intelligence and the new intelligence, very complex transition. And I said, well, we need to give those who are members of the ANC an opportunity to meet elders of the organization and declare what happened to them during the struggle. That also didn't happen. And so that note, it's in my book, Things That Could Not Be Said, if you want to look at that note. Yeah, and it's there. So I dealt with these issues myself. Of course, if you make examples about Sarafina, these are specific cases. There is a particular view the media has about it. But I mean, we dealt with the issue of Sarafina within the state and dealt with the issues, the mistakes made, and etc. But it can be made just an example that the ANC allowed corruption. It's like the arms deal, for instance. Take the arms deal. People have been, investigations were done, people were charged. That's why the former president is still in court today, because of that arms deal story. And there are a number of people who have been charged about it. So the fact that it happened doesn't mean the ANC closed its eyes to it. The history, there's no party or government that does not make mistakes, but you deal with the mistakes. I mean, if you take the United in Iraq when they shouldn't have, and the evidence was there, the intelligence is there, the confessions were made after, but nobody has been taken to the criminal court, international criminal court. So I don't think we should take examples and make them as the example that show permissiveness. No, what has become clear in the last 15 years or so, that's where there was deliberate effort of state capture, deliberate efforts of looting the resources of the state, not by mistake, but as an intention to do it. And that's why the Zondo Commission, we've got the results. I'm dealing with that matter from a integrity commission point of view.
Helpful to raise the issue, for example, of the US and UK's blatantly bad behavior with regards to the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan, and justify corruption because they went and invaded other countries on spurious grounds. Do you think that whataboutism helps South Africa?
No, I am saying to you, it's because I dealt with Iraq as well. I was directly involved, so I know what happened. If people know, there are no arms of mass destruction, weapons of mass destruction, they ignore the intelligence. We give them the information. I was at Checkers myself with President Mbeki. And we said, what you are planning to go to war for is not valid. And then you go and kill people. It's an ethical question. That's what I'm talking about.
But what I'm saying is, how does that justify the mass looting that we've seen under our government for the last 20 years?
No, I'm not saying I'm justifying anything. I was saying to you, governments do make mistakes. And I can't say everything that the government of South Africa did was perfect. I am saying the examples you are making were not the best examples. I think the best example should be the Zondo Commission. I think that's of state capture, which I am dealing with now. And which is straightforward corruption, looting of state resources, to an extent that you collapse ESCOM. I mean, one of the best entities, and then even Denel, the arms, entity, got put in a situation where it can't do its business. That's what we are dealing with now, and this is what I am dealing with. Yeah.
But then how do you explain that just last December at the ANC's elective conference, people who are in the Zondo Commission that should have, we've got, for example, somebody like Nom going around in an Aston Martin that cannot pass any means test. But yet the ANC sees fit to put her on the executive committee. I'm not exactly sure how that works.
I'm not sure why. That's why I wasn't sure why I'm in this interview, because I'll tell you why. I can't, as chair of the Integrity, Mamela, as chair of Integrity Commission, I can't speak on behalf of the decisions of the ANC. I deal with the consequences of that. So if you want to know why the ANC does certain things like December, go to them. There's a headquarters, Secretary General, communications. It's not the chair of the Integrity Commission. You should answer that question. What I'm dealing with, it's the cases that arise out of it. And as I would say, I will not deal with individual cases, because if they are before the commission, you can't have a press conference and pass judgments on them. That's why when I came in, I said, don't ask me the question. You can't ask the judge. You can't say a case is before you. Can you make comment in the media about that case? No. So you are talking to the wrong person. Let me tell you what this person does. What I do is I arrived in the office. I found there were 97 cases that arose from the commission. The names are known, so you don't have to ask from me. And I found that the commission had made a decision. The ANC had made a decision to refer them to the commission, gave them 3 months. They did not appear before the commission, and the commission made a decision that the cases be referred to a disciplinary committee. So when I arrived, I found it on my desk, and I acted accordingly. Asked the national leadership of the party, you referred these people to the commission. They didn't come to the commission. Now they qualify for disciplinary action. If you talk to the Secretary General of the organization, will say, yes, the NEC made the decision to refer them to the disciplinary committee. So that's my responsibility. So those cases that appear from the commission have been referred to the disciplinary committee.
So if you then referring stuff to the disciplinary committee, I know Adrian Flock was keen to wash your feet, but does that mean that you wash your hands of that case? You've passed it on to disciplinary committee. The fact that there's no repercussion, you've done your job.
No, don't bring Mr. Flock's matter here. Mr. Flock has passed away, and we should let his soul rest in peace. He came and asked for forgiveness. He came to ask for forgiveness from me. I forgave him. He asked to wash my feet. Yes, I allowed him to do that. It was about Mr. Flock. It has nothing to do with the ANC. So please don't bring people. I feel bad because he has children, he has grandchildren, and people keep on coming back to this matter. The point is, I have not washed my hands from anything. There are procedures. If the court makes a ruling, it's not the judge who goes and makes sure that ruling is acted upon, unless if the matter is referred back to me. So those matters have been referred to the disciplinary committee. The disciplinary committee is charged to do that, not the commission. The commission doesn't act on disciplinary matters. It acts on the issues of ethics and integrity. And indeed, if you qualify to go to a disciplinary committee, it means you've crossed the issue of ethics. If you are charged in a court, you've gone past the issues about ethics. It's now a criminal matter. So there must be separation of roles in this matter. So I'm just clarifying it. But nevertheless, we deal with matters that come before us, and we do say to them, this is not a court, this is not a disciplinary committee, it is an integrity commission. And the commission deals with issues of integrity.
Now, if I could just sort of just briefly, Reverend Frank Chikane, the man, you've proven yourself to be a wonderfully devoted member of South Africa. You have put your life on the line, literally. We understand, and I would recommend that anybody please read the book. It's a fantastic read, and it puts a lot into context. Now, you've done all of these brave things in the interest of making South Africa a better place for all of our citizens. You must feel a sense of betrayal now to even have to be in the position you're in.
Yeah, well, if we put aside the position of an integrity commission, I've said so before, go to my records, as early as 2015, I've taken a stand against corruption in government and corrupt leaders from the party. And I have even indicated to them, 2016, you can Google it. And I said, if you don't change, you'll lose elections. You'll lose metros first. I even estimated when, and provinces, and then I said national election. And the Secretary General of the party did not like what I said, but I say it. I've taken a stand. I'm saying that corruption is a betrayal of people who have sacrificed their lives. And we cannot allow it to happen. And I've said I'm one of those. I'm one of those who were tortured. I'm one of those who nearly killed, poisoned. And that's where Mr. Flock comes in. And I've said, no, we cannot allow this to happen. And it's still my position as I stand now. And I've gone to the NEC as a chair of the commission to speak to them about that. Nobody in the ANC can say corruption is permissible or looting the state is correct. Nobody. I have not found one single person who says that. And so it's for us, together with the people, that we should make sure this thing stops. And those who are within the party, work within the party, like I've done through the Veterans League, for instance, which we had a conference just last month, the end of last month, to make sure that the veterans of the movement take a stand and stop this thing. So those who are outside the party, I've worked with them, which gave birth to the Defend Our Democracy, DOD movement. So those who are in the ANC, you save the ANC, you save the country. Those who are not in the ANC, we say, save the country, work together. And that's why we've been working with business, for instance, and I appreciate what business has decided to do this year. They started being the top 40. Now it was 150 plus top business in the country, which are putting their hands together to turn the economy so that the people can benefit out of it. Those are efforts we must make whilst we are dealing with criminality, and make sure the criminals go to jail. I mean, corrupt people should go to jail. They shouldn't be here.
But yet we see a real reluctance to even deal with it. It's very hard for South Africans to wrap their head around what you're saying, and then the organization that seems to go almost to the edge. We've just recently seen this, the release of 9 prisoners, so I didn't have to spend more than an hour in jail. The sort of political solutions to justify criminality, certainly the African public deserves a little bit better than this.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the current matter that has happened last week. It's within the legal space, and the correctional services was asked by a court to act in a particular manner. They've acted in a manner that they've acted. You may not agree with them. We may have all sorts of views, but this is a legal process. We've got a very complex constitution, and people have the right. And I'm sure somebody will go and appeal and say this should not be done this way or the other. That's not the issue. For me, it's whether or not there's an individual who is acting in a way that brings the organization into disrepute. Now, this is an issue of state. It's in government. But if you read what the media says about parties debating their views, it's a different matter. But if you say, here is a person who has acted in a way that violates ethical conduct, I would say, bring it to me. Let's deal with it. But I can't go to the Minister of Justice and the Correctional Services chief. They are doing this is state management. And if there's anybody who has a problem, go to court, because our courts are open to deal with those issues. So I think the examples are just not the best. I think what we need to deal with is real corruption within government, perpetrated by people who are in leadership or facilitated by. And it's not just a one-party matter here. I keep on saying to people, it doesn't matter who's in power. It will happen. It's a matter of how you make sure it does not happen. And if you had a period where the intelligence is corrupted, the police was an attempt to capture the police, the prosecution authority, there was even an attempt to capture our judges. We are lucky that it didn't happen, and we are reversing it. So if you asked me, I would say we are not where 2015 was, where we started. We have turned the corner. It's a matter of how we make sure it stops. And it's not easy, and nobody must ever say it will be easier.
If I may, you say we've turned the corner. In what way have we turned the corner? It's hard to see how we turned the corner, because if we move on from 2015, which we've had the...
We have turned the corner. No, we have turned the corner because at least the government was able to set up commissions which were resistant to investigate this. We now have the results and outcomes. And the process is now to act on the recommendations, and many people are being arrested. I think the problem is that people forget that as we speak now, there are people who are in ESCOM who are in jail or have been charged. You can go to other entities, the same would apply. So there is a process of arresting people, charging them. It's not easy because we've got a good constitution and people use it to keep you in court forever. And those who have money also use money. Yeah.
But the people who have been arrested all seem to be the minor players. These aren't necessarily, the so-called big fish. These aren't the facilitators. These aren't people with their hands on the levers of power. this emerged over 2 years where Judge Raymond Zondo did quite a comprehensive job. We spent billions of rand money, names came out, people were shown to have done some crazy things. You mentioned that a corner's been turned, but yet none of those people have been held to account. Everybody's been held to account of bit-part players.
No, if you bring the evidence, they will be held to account. Those where there is evidence have been taken to court. I mean, the Secretary General of the African National Congress is in court and he has been charged. And to charge a Secretary General of a party, it's a huge thing. The former president of the ANC, it's in court, is the one you were talking about now, who, I mean, was taken out in a way that was not in terms of the law, and the court had to rule to say, go back to jail. That's a former president of a country. It's not a minor person.
Yes,
and so if there is evidence about specific cases, because you have to go to court, otherwise you're going to lose it in our courts, like the Free State case. If you don't prepare the case properly, our courts are tough. So you need a case with evidence, with witnesses, not just a news report about how a person is bad or a reference in a commission, even after a commission has found that this person needs to account. The police still to do the investigation. The prosecutors need to present a case that can stand the test of court. Now, I'm unhappy as well that there are many people I think should be in jail, but I'm not handling the court processes. So I can't just say X must go to jail. In South Africa, you don't do that. In a dictatorship, you just arrest them, lock them up, put them in jail. But in South Africa, you must go through the process in court. So I think we should not confuse the two things. The intention to end this started quite, in the 2019 this way, because we went through the commissions and they finished. The country wants an end to corruption. And it's not the president who's going to decide who goes to jail. You see, that's the difference. People think the president can decide, Frank Chikane, the commission said this, I'm sending you to jail. It doesn't work like that. It's the police, the investigators, the prosecution that should take a case to court, and it must stand the test of a court. I think that's where we are. No, there's nobody who's happy about where we are. I'm not happy. The only difference is that before then, people looted without anybody stopping them, not even saying it is wrong. Now everybody knows it is wrong. It shouldn't be done.
But now and I agree with you. Where you say it's not up to us just to put people in jail. There's a process, but surely what is within the president's control is the people that he appoints to his cabinet and key posts. Now, there's a number of people in those key posts, ministers and deputy ministers, and you can go down the list, who have been mentioned in the Zondo Commission. Do we have to wait for those people to be carted off to jail? Or do you see a time when the president will act with integrity and not appoint those people in the first place?
No, I'm asking you to ask the president that question. Don't ask me.
I would love to. Do you think we can get the president to come and do an interview?
Do so. I think
I think he's going to say yes to that.
I'm not going to answer for him, because the very question you're asking might end up on my desk. You get what I'm talking about? So I can't answer that question. You should ask him, the party, and there's a Lutuli House is right there. You can go and ask them. So the point I'm making is, I can't make a judgmental statement about individuals who may appear before the commission. It would be actually wrong to do that. So I think you must respect that. That's the line I draw. Okay. Yeah, I can't do that. Yeah.
Reverend Chikane, you've been very, very generous with your time. I'm going to just close off by asking you one thing. Firstly, I want to make a comment to what you've said, and that is that I completely invite anybody from the ANC to come and speak to me. It's impossible for me to get them to come and answer questions as you have so generously done today. But I am going to leave you, just ask one last question just before we end this, and that is, you are a man with great empathy for the people of South Africa. You have fought it. Nobody can dispute your credentials. Do you think that the South African public deserve the disrespect that the ruling party has shown them?
No, I think ask them that question as well. Because you see, if you want to know my views, I've gone public. Just go to Google, you'll find what I've said. But I shouldn't come here as chair of the commission and make those statements. That, not as chair of the commission, I can speak as Veterans League, for instance. I'm part of the Veterans League, and we have worked very hard to reorganize the Veterans League. These are 60 years old and older, with 40 years of unbroken service in the ANC and the liberation struggle. Those people met the end of July and have determined to make sure that what has been happening in government does not happen. And where ANC has a responsibility, we're going to hold them responsible for it. And we are organizing province by province, region by region, branch by branch. In fact, I'm busy producing a document which is going to be part of the discussions. We cannot allow for dysfunctional municipalities, failure to deliver basic services to the people. No, we can't allow that. So I'm a practical person. I don't, like 2015, I didn't just complain about corruption. I took action. And on this particular matter about of the Veterans League, and we are now implementing, we're going to make sure that the needs of the people are met where there is money to do so. Look at Makanda. I just read about it this morning. Makanda, it's a failing municipality, but they only spend 58% of their budget, which means there is something more serious there than just money. And therefore, we need to deal with it. And I just did a note to say we must deal with this matter. There is infrastructure money. I don't have the figure now, which has not been used, but the infrastructure is falling apart. Remember, this is where Rhodes University is. And I was thinking, how could this happen on earth? Can this thing be allowed to happen? And so we are doing our best. I'm not going to just sit here and make judgmental statements like politicians, opposition parties make statements. I don't believe in that. I believe in changing the conditions of lives of the people on the ground. And we will do that to turn it around, because I don't think anybody else can. Those who are part of this liberation movement that has this glorious history must make sure that this is not done in the name of their organization. I think that's now you've asked me. I'm answering you not as commission. I'm part of the veterans of the African National Congress, and these are what I call soldiers of OR Tambo. All of them were during the OR Tambo period, where ethics mattered, where corruption was impermissible, and that we should recalibrate the position of the organization. If you read my 32-page document, it talks about the ANC has deviated. That's the one I did 2016, from where it's supposed to be. And I've said we must recalibrate and bring it where it should be. And those who took it in that direction should then not be part of the organization or should be disciplined. And that's my position. So you've asked for my position. I've given you my position. But I won't talk about individuals who might appear before the commission. It would be unethical itself. I mean, I'm going to be said to be biased and therefore must hear them when they come to me.
Well, Reverend Frank Chikane, a wonderful patriot, as brave as ever, answering the questions. I hope that your wonderful legacy, sir, is not besmirched by those in your party who do not share the same integrity that you hold. South Africa needs men of integrity, and the citizens need our politicians to do what they are empowered to do. I'd like to thank you so much for joining us on the State of the Nation today. It's been wonderful to host you. And once again, that of the leaders of the ANC, please let's have a conversation. These questions that I'm putting to you are questions that South Africans are asking around the braai, around the beer halls, wherever it is. These are the real issues that people are asking. So thank you so much, Reverend Chikane, and to everybody that's joined us on the State of the Nation. If you've enjoyed this panel, thank you so much once again, and we'll see you again. Thank you very much.